On today's installment of Was It Really That Bad? We're going back to 1991, when glam metal band Skid Row released their sophomore album, Slave to the Grind. This was seen as a departure from their previous sound at the time, and didn't sell nearly as well as their first album, as well as drawing the ire of several music critics. Nevertheless, some of you may be wondering, Spaceman, does this album really belong in this series? It's not exactly well remembered, but it wasn't a flop or anything. Does it really qualify for Was It Really That Bad? To which I say... no. April Fools! Haha, yes indeed. I am not reviewing this album for Was It Really That Bad? No, in fact, this review will be the start of a new series on my channel entitled All-Star Albums. As you've probably gathered from the name, this is a series where I will be talking about some of my favorite albums ever. Albums that have affected me in some way, albums that I keep revisiting over and over and keep finding new things to enjoy about them. I mean, everyone talks about stuff they hate, so I figured, why not spread some love? And the first album we'll be looking at for this series is Slave to the Grind by Skid Row. Before I start, I feel I should give a little background about the state of rock music at the time and how Skid Row played into it. See, nowadays people like to laugh at glam metal, otherwise known as hair metal, but at the time it was a pretty big deal. If you look at the charts, from the mid-80s to early 90s, it reigned supreme as the dominant form of rock. There were occasional alternative hits, but for the most part it was all about teased hair, motorcycles, androgyny, and shredderific solos. Hell, it's a movement that led many of the old guard of rock to shift to a more glam metal sound in the 80s, like Aerosmith, Ozzy, and Alice Cooper. Yet, listening to your average classic rock station, you wouldn't really know this, would you? I mean, sure, you'll hear your occasional hit from Def Leppard, Poison, or Bon Jovi, but you never hear anything from Bad English, White Lion, Winger, Cinderella, Dokken, Vixen, or Great White, and all those bands had multiple hits. And you could make the argument that those bands are too recent to be considered classic rock, but bands like Green Day and Nirvana are played on those stations, and they broke out even more recently. A lot of people like to compare hair metal to disco, and the comparison is kind of apt because much like disco, hair metal got a bit diluted over time. When Motley Crue, arguably the first hair metal band, broke onto the scene in 1981, they were loud, they were heavy, and they brought a unique sound that blended the technicality of metal with the aggressiveness of punk. However, as the decade went on, the scene became oversaturated with more and more bands still trying to sport the dangerous metal image but focusing their efforts on power ballads that only seemed to get softer and softer. By the end of the decade, the hair metal genre was a hollow shell of what it had been when it started. I'll put it to you this way. This is what hair metal sounded like by 1990. Can you take me high enough? Yeah, I hate to defend grunge, but you can see why the rock community wasn't exactly happy with this. I mean, does this really sound like metal at all? Now, that's not to say there weren't any good later era hair bands. There were some bands that still captured the original heaviness of the genre, like Guns N' Roses and Extreme. And the band we're talking about today, Skid Row. Now, the first thing I feel I should mention about this band is where they're from. Most of the hair metal scene was located in Los Angeles, with a few bands breaking out from England, but Skid Row was formed in New Jersey. And I feel that this is important to mention, for one thing because the only reason they got signed was because their guitarist just happened to be childhood friends with John Bon Jovi. But hey, if you have connections, it's unwise not to use them. But this wasn't just nepotism. Skid Row did have serious chops. Scotty Hill and Dave the Snake Sabo provided some absolutely killer guitar work, and they were backed by the extremely tight rhythm section of drummer Rapafuso and bassist Rachel Bolan. Side note, that's Mr. Rachel Bolan. He's a dude. It was the 80s. Androgyny and hair metal went hand in hand.
You know, they put a phone number in there and I called him up and I said, "What's your name?" He goes, "Rachel Bolan." I go, wow. Heavy name.
And that's not even mentioning lead vocalist Sebastian Bach. The dude was trained for theater and had a set of pipes on him that you couldn't believe. Hell, he still sounds good today, which I certainly can't say for all metal vocalists. Apparently Sebastian joined the band after auditioning and singing the final chorus of Youth Gone Wild all in one breath, which, let me tell you, is not easy to do. You want to see me try that, don't you? They call this problem child, we spend our lives on trial, we walk an endless mile, we are the youth gone wild, we stand and we won't fall, we're one and one for all, the writings on the wall, we are the youth gone wild. Not easy. The band didn't waste their chops either. They brought a sense of heaviness that was missing from a lot of the other hair metal bands at the time. Even in their ballads, they never once let you forget that they could totally melt your face off. Again, compare this to a lot of the other power ballads at the time. Meanwhile, Skid Row was making stuff like this. Not only that, but they also had a lyrical heaviness, which I feel can be at least partially attributed to their location. They didn't grow up around the glitz and glamour of Los Angeles, they were from the rough streets of New Jersey. They were kind of like the Bruce Springsteen of hair metal. While they did have your typical songs about girls and partying, it had the undertones of dealing with poverty, class differences, and teenage crime. Take their very first single, Youth Gone Wild, where in the second verse, the narrator's boss starts giving him a hard time, but listen to how he responds. Now, you hear that? He could have just told his boss to piss off or something, but instead he reminds him that, hey, poor people exist and the ghetto isn't as far away as you think, making reference to Park Avenue and Skid Row, which also doubles as a clever pun on the band's name. And that first album is so good! And I'm not the only one who thinks so. It was a huge success for the band, gaining them critical praise and going 5 times platinum. Here was this band that pushed the boundaries, coming off as well-grounded and relatable to lower-income listeners, and redefining what it meant to be hair metal. So, how does a band like this follow that up, especially in an industry telling them to tone down their sound to appeal more to the mainstream? Well, let's check out the first track off of Slave to the Grind, entitled Monkey Business. From this intro, it would seem as though they're going for a bluesier sound, a bit more scaled back, more chill, more... Oh shit! Yeah, kinda sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Man, when that beat kicks in, it comes at you with the fire of 1,000 suns. Sebastian starts the album with his trademark scream, and Scotty, Snake, and Rachel are just attacking you with a groove that's tighter than Sebastian's leather pants. And those are some tight friggin' pants, man! In addition to being the first song on the album, Monkey Business was also the first single. And man, I could not have chosen a better song for that if I tried. The way the song starts so mellow and then explodes into this... It helps set the tone for the album. It lets you know that this is going to present a heavier, more aggressive side to Skid Row, something delightfully edgy in the best way possible. So think more Prince Zuko and less Shadow the Hedgehog. Again, compare this to what their colleagues were doing at the time. Yeah, this was a breath of fresh air. The effect is continued on track 2, which happens to be the album's title track, Slave to the Grind. Again, keep in mind that on Skid Row's first album, they were on the heavier side of hair metal, but they were still hair metal. But this sounds more like Motorhead than anything. In a way, this song is kind of this album's version of Youth Gone Wild. Both songs have a pounding beat and a message about fighting the system, however, this one feels slightly more mature. Youth Gone Wild was written for teenagers, but this song was written for adults. While the former song was sort of a vague rebellion anthem, Slave to the Grind narrows it down to just one enemy. Office politics. I know this may not seem like the most compelling topic for a song, but they make a case for it. The noose gets tighter around my throat, but I ain't at the end of my rope. To them, office work isn't just a daily routine, it's downright condemnation. I'm so stuck inside this rubber room. And this is a good analogy because if you think about it, doing the same job every day and expecting different results can be compared to insanity. I gotta punch clocks and leave the blind. I'm just another kid in assembly line. Whoa, no. And that's another good point. Because in work like that, we're all ultimately expendable. You can do your job and do it well, but as soon as they decide they no longer need you, they'll fire you and replace you without a second thought. And this chorus is great. Working for corporations may give you money in the short term, but can drain you of your life and sanity in the long term as you compete in the rat race, and for as much as people will encourage you to get a day job and act as though conformity to these standards is equivalent to living your best life,
when they're finally done with you, how alive do you really feel?
Rob's driving beat never eases up, and topped with an amazing guitar solo by Scotty, it gives the perfect manic energy that this song demands.
Side note, did you know that this song is actually a demo?
Yeah, the version of Slave to the Grind included on the album was, in fact, the demo version, as in the prototype that they never intended to release. Apparently, the band tried re-recording it for the album, but they couldn't match the intensity of the demo, so they decided, screw it, let's just use this version that we recorded and mixed in an hour. And while I usually don't like the sound quality of demos, here it totally works, both to the vibe of the song and the overall album, which is grittier and less polished than their debut.
This energy continues on the album's third track, The Threat.
Man, listen to that riff! This album showcases some amazing guitar work from Scotty and Snake.
I felt the anger of generations and been a target for the cheap shots of authority.
Lyrically, this song seems to be directed towards moral guardians like the PMRC.
What you need, your mark is me, the threat to society.
As Bach makes some clever comebacks to their attacks against him.
I wasn't put here to be treated like some disease you hope would go away if left alone. Yeah, you can sweep me under the carpet, but I'll still infect your need to use me as a stone.
So basically what he's saying is, you can try to bring me down, but I'm not going anywhere because you need me so you can have something to complain about. And honestly, you don't have any reason to convict me in the first place.
But I've been convicted with and without reason.
Wait, with and without reason? Huh.
You know, usually these kinds of songs try to claim complete innocence.
They won't catch me 'cause I'm innocent.
Unless... Wait, is this about all the fights that broke out at Skid Row concerts?
Yeah, apparently during the first tour, the then 19-year-old Sebastian got into a number of fights with the audience, and also rather notoriously wore a shirt a fan threw at him that read, "AIDS kills f***ing dead."
Which even back then was really friggin' tasteless.
He later claimed that after the fan threw him the shirt, he put it on without reading what it actually said. However, regardless of whether or not that was true, I believe in the ability for people to grow and mature over time. We've all said dumb crap when we were 19 that we wouldn't stand by nowadays.
And this kind of ties in with the entire album itself, as it shows an older, more mature side of the band.
See, while they did have songs like 18 in Life and Youth Gone Wild on their first album, they were still a hair metal band. I mean, for God's sake, the first song on their first album was literally about boobs.
She got the big guns pointed in my heart. Bang, bang, shooting like a firing squad.
For the most part, it was just your usual songs about girls, partying, and, incest?
I know a thing or two about a sweet little sister.
I'm just going to assume that was a metaphor and carry on.
But on Slave to the Grind, apparently the band had some moments of maturity between albums, including Sebastian himself having a kid, and they went into this one wanting to create something both heavy and more lyrically mature. And hey, kudos to them for trying to mature their sound instead of still trying to sound like teenagers, which I can't say for every rock band.
But did they succeed at making a more mature album? Boy, did they ever.
Check out Mudkicker, for example, which fires shots at the billionaire businessmen who have ties with the government.
His collar's that right big black briefcase outsider that holds the power. Do your demise, yeah. The young get stronger, free ribbon fast, but you're that sucker. You ain't gonna last, no. The corporation blue sedan behind the wheel, Mr. Businessman. He thinks he's got the upper hand, but he misunderstands. Prestige is clear as day, but I can scrape the silver bilge and see the day.
Well, damn.
And topped with a kick-ass dual guitar segment. Or how about Livin' on a Chain Gang, which drops a bomb within the first 20 seconds.
A 13-year-old boy so he can eat it. He got into inside while killers walk the streets.
So right off the bat, this song points out the hypocrisy of poor people getting longer sentences for just trying to survive. How do you continue from there?
Well, taking shots at politicians is one way.
A hungry politician is the wolf that's at the door. He's down there on submission and he's feeding on the poor.
Oh, and if you thought televangelists were free from scrutiny,
Command's intuition can wash your sins away. Send your contribution, it'll save your soul today.
Yeah, how hypocritical is that?
I mean, Jesus himself said that the best way for rich people to achieve salvation was to give away their money. Meanwhile, these would-be preachers are taking billions for themselves and their churches.
What does he know? Has he been through hell and back? He takes the cash and he drives it home in a brand new Cadillac.
Wow, he said it better than I could. With this song tackling political corruption, religion, and the disparity between rich and poor criminals, this is essentially Operation Mindcrime condensed into one song. Hell, this is a better Operation Mindcrime sequel than the actual Operation Mindcrime 2. I should really review that at some point, shouldn't I?
Now, that's not to say there isn't any of that hair metal sleaze left on this album. Take Psycho Love, for example, which is about
a hooker who, before she f***s her johns, she gets a little kink because she likes to murder them. Fun for the whole family here, right?
But see, I don't think that's what it's really about. No, what it's really about is that bass line. Man, you know, this album confirms something that was hinted at in the first album. Rachel Bolan might just be one of the most underrated bassists of all time.
seriously, this song is all about that bass. No, not like that, ew. But this song explores a psychedelic, funkier side of metal that a lot of bands were doing at the time, and the way Rachel's bass interplays with Rob's drumming gives it this downright amazing groove. In addition to playing bass, Rachel wrote or co-wrote all the songs, and you can really tell because,
You know, I'm trying to talk about the song, but this video is too distracting.
Look at it. This is the most 90s thing ever.
I almost can't look away. It's kind of fascinating, really.
The sleaze has continued on other songs like the hard-hitting punk rocker Riot Act.
You say it's raining, but you're pissing down my back, so stop reading me the Riot Act.
There's also Creepshow, which is about discovering that your girlfriend is secretly a stripper and or prostitute.
Much to my surprise, I had it right between your thighs. The sweet little sister wasn't making me away.
Again?
That's two separate songs in which the lyrics contain some mention of lusting after your sister.
Am I missing something? Or was Rachel secretly a fan of Ore Emo?
But honestly, the instrumentation and vocal delivery is so good that I don't even care. Oh, and we can't forget track 6, titled, GTFO.
Side note, depending on which version of this album you listen to, the track listing will be slightly different.
The uncensored version of this album contains the GTFO, however, the censored version replaces it with a new song titled Beggars Day. And, I'll be honest, Beggars Day is also really good.
The first time I listened to this album, I didn't know anything about it being censored, and I genuinely couldn't tell that Beggars Day wasn't meant to be part of the original track listing. See, that's how you know an album is great, when even the censored song recorded for Walmart kicks ass. That said, though, I still prefer GTFO.
Get the fuck out!
You know, this song actually got them banned from playing at Wembley Stadium. Yeah, true story. I wonder if that ban is still in effect with the new one.
But, okay, I've talked enough about the album's louder songs. What about the slower numbers? After all, Skid Row was known for their power ballads, and this album contains 3. The first one, titled Quicksand Jesus, is the album's 4th track and has a similar effect to Monkey Business in that it starts out soft and explodes into heaviness. Only hell, this one stretches out the effect even longer. The first 2 minutes of the song are driven by Snake's acoustic guitar picking and Bach's subdued vocals.
She caught the melting sky. It burned, but still the winter passes by and by.
The lyrics are about struggling with doubt and religion, as apparently Rachel and Snake both grew up in Catholic households. It's all very haunting and sets up an interesting atmosphere for the song. Until... I love it! And this song contains, in my opinion, Bach's best vocal performance. Incidentally, the title apparently refers to an actual statue of Jesus in Snake's mom's garden that would sink every time it rained.
To take something so trivial and even humorous and turn it into such a powerful song, that is a sign of a good songwriter.
The album's second ballad is In a Darkened Room, which is just driven by Scotty's lead guitar work and Bach's vocal delivery.
Well, tell me when the kiss of love becomes a lie. That this has got us in too deep to hide behind.
It's a gut-wrenchingly painful song about child abuse. Again, Skid Row hitting you with the serious topics. And it's perhaps fitting because Bach's vocals do almost sound like screams of pain.
These men that is lying in a darkened room.
Also, apparently this was one of a rare few tracks that Sebastian himself co-wrote, along with Slave to the Grind and Mudkicker.
Sebastian, my man! You should write more songs. You're good at it.
But as good as those songs are, in my opinion, nothing comes close to the album's final track, Wasted Time. This song is about...
It's about watching a close friend fall into crippling heroin addiction.
See, Sebastian was good friends with Steven Adler, the original drummer for Guns N' Roses. And if you know anything about Guns N' Roses, you'd know that he was notorious for dancing with Mr. Brownstone, as Axl Rose put it, and was eventually fired from the band for not being able to keep his addiction under control.
Then why can't I let myself tell lies and watch you die every day?
And the lyrics of this song convey the pain of seeing your friend descend deeper into addiction, but feeling powerless to do anything about it.
But the horse stampedes and rages in the name of desperation.
And the horse here refers to the slang term for heroin.
Is it all just wasted time? Can you live with yourself when you think of what you've left behind?
The song's strengths are in its heartbreaking lyrics and vocals, as Bach screams, "I never thought you'd let it get this far, boy."
I never thought you'd let it get this far.
It's a very effective song, and a great closer for an overall fantastic album. So, why aren't people talking about this album again?
I mean, Slave to the Grind was a high seller at the time, debuting at number 1 and going 2 times platinum in the US, but over time it seems to have been forgotten, even compared to their first album. I don't see it brought up when people are talking about the best metal albums or the best albums of the 90s. Hell, this should have been a bigger success. Its serious lyrics and stripped-down production fit right in with the oncoming grunge era. Sadly though, the band wouldn't last much longer after this. They released another album, Subhuman Race, in '95, and then after a fight with Rachel, Bach quit and the band broke up.
Is that why it's not remembered? Because the band was so short-lived? Well, that can't be right. Nirvana's career was even shorter and they're well-loved.
Since then, Bach has undertaken a career on Broadway, and the band has reunited without him or Rob, rotating through a number of different lead vocalists, most recently Zippy Thart of Dragon Force, but it's not the same. Fans have been clamoring for a reunion of the original lineup, and Bach has even said he'd be more than willing to rejoin the band, but Rachel has declined all his offers.
Hey, Mr. Bolin, Rachel, if you're watching this right now, let's take a walk. Look, I don't know what you and Sebastian fought about. I mean, I've heard different stories, but ultimately I think it's none of my business. The way I see it, you should totally have a reunion. I mean, the fans want it, Sebastian wants it, Rob wants it, and you kind of seem like an old curmudgeon for saying no. And those first 3 albums were so good, but it kind of makes me wonder, Was it all just wasted time? Can you live with yourself when you think of what you've left behind? And by what you left behind, I mean all the fans asking for a reunion, you jerk. Where was I again? Oh yeah! So this album is fantastic.
It contains both a musical and lyrical heaviness that few other bands in their genre had. The instrumentals are aggressive and punchy, Sebastian's voice is beyond phenomenal, and the lyrics expand into dark new territory and show a sense of maturity on the band's part. Of all the albums of 1991, Nevermind, the Black Album, No More Tears, Hey Stupid, and both Use Your Illusion albums, and Slave to the Grind was the edgiest of them all. And it is a shame that it's not as well known as it should be.
And hey, the album's 30th anniversary is coming up next year, so if we want to give it the recognition it deserves, I'm just saying. Anyway, this is the Happy Spaceman, signing off.
I won't be the one left behind. Can't be king of the world if you're slave to the night. Tear down the rat race to slide.